Right, folks, I'm now going to take you through a Linux older version of a live Linux CD called Wax. And Wax originally was a version before Backtrack. Basically, the developer of Auditor and Wax got together, and as you all know from the Linux module, they amalgamated to form what we now have, Backtrack. Well, I'm going to demonstrate Nessus in a few moments, and just a quick rundown. The reason why Nessus was not included in Backtrack was that Nessus version 3 became available, and the developers of Backtrack never had the authorization to include it in the Backtrack distribution. So you're all going to have access to still being able to download Wax, and this is for more information purposes. By no means you really want to have this implemented into your enterprise for your Nessus automated scan-in. You really want to look at a distribution such as Fedora Core and have Nessus installed as the standalone. Effectively, your Nessus server, the daemon or the daemon, needs to be installed, and you can then use your Windows front ends to actually run the scans if you like, or obviously use the Linux client. So to launch and initialize Nessus within Wax, you click on the K, and then you go along to Wax Tools, Scanners, Vulnerability Scanners, Nessus, and then you're going to use the Initialize Nessus 2.2.4-2, and that will then bring you up to a box that will give you the ability to specify certain parameters, starting off with the creation of the Nessus SSL certificate. I'm just going to select the default values along here. You can obviously configure that according to however you want, use your own naming conventions. But as I'm going through this wizard, it's gone through now and created the certificate for me, and it's going to now ask me to create a new username or login name. So I'm going to create mine as Wayne. You can either use a certificate for authentication or password, the default being a password. And I'm going to just set mine to password, or actually first enter. So I'm selecting password as the option, and then enter the actual password that I want to use. It's not always helpful to not see the password that you've actually typed on the screen. But once I've done that, I can then define certain rules, which is really a rule set based upon what users can actually do. As such, an example would be, do you want those users to be able to scan with using some of the dangerous plugins? So I'm not going to configure any rules for this. I'm just going to use the Control D, and it's told me it's created the user account Wayne. I'm going to say yes, that's correct. And now it's going to actually load the Nessus plugins. And folks, the Nessus plugins really are the components that will be used to actually test or assess for vulnerabilities. Remember from the slide you've just seen, my presentation was that you need to register with the nessus.org to receive the updated feeds. And even those updated feeds, although you do receive them, you're actually receiving the ones that are already a week out to date. So you can pay, I think it's about $1,000 for a year subscription to receive the actual feeds immediately as they're released.